big picture when you guys go through a game like you did on Sunday, like as coaches, is there a lot being said to players in the moment of whatever, or is it like you're trying to do business as usual?
I think it depends on the situation. You're always trying to be 1-0 in every play that you go out there, just win the situation, whether we're punting, we're kicking off return, or kick returning. You try to remind guys, hey, we're in this situation, so we're likely to see this out of them, right? Whether you're up, you're down. We talk about those types of situations regardless of what the scoreboard says. I'm trying to live in the moment, but sometimes I would find myself with younger players, like just reminding them, these are the things we need to emphasize in this situation. So most of the vets have been through it one way or the other. They understand the league is the league, and there's been some games in the recent history where teams have been able to kind of get back in it. So.
It seemed like there was early on some sloppiness on some returns. What do you attribute that to? I'm thinking of the flag. I think there was one that was dropped. A couple other things.
I'm trying to answer your question the way that you're asking because there was like 4 things right there.
There was some sloppiness on the early
No,
returns?
I think when the ball is on the ground, that's not what we're trying to do. The flag may have gotten your attention because that has not been us in the return game. I have absolutely no idea what the stats say, but I would think that we're one of the least penalized teams in the league, at least when it comes to the kicking game. I don't think there's anything that is a common trait. There was 2 different players involved in terms of Amari had one and Bam had another. But I don't know that there was anything that, other than the results of those plays, that I'd attribute that to.
A game like that where JG was talking a little bit about, obviously when you're getting close, you're so far behind, you're in a situation essentially where you're needing touchdowns instead of field goals, so you're not going to kick stuff often because you're trying to make up all those points. I guess as a special teams unit, as Chad would be, like, I guess you just kind of understand the moment that, like, okay, this might not be a day where I'm getting a lot of chances just because of the circumstances. I mean, I assume that's to be the case, that you're just kind of thinking, I mean, I'll be ready if I need to, but I might not be using a whole lot today.
Yeah. I learned my lesson over a decade ago on, just even in the moment, again, whether you're up, you're down. We were playing a game in Baltimore in 2012 when I was in Denver, and the score was in our favor, kind of getting away. And we had said, 4 down in this situation. And I communicated that with Prater was our kicker at the time, communicated that with Matt. And after 3rd down, they said field goal. And the kick did not go well as he was late getting on the field, and that was our fault as a coaching staff. So even if it's a situation in which, hey, this is probably a go, and we've been in those situations here, hey, we're going for it on 4th down, and then a negative play happens on offense, and it's like, okay, kicking's actually a better deal. Like you can get into 4th and goal from the 40, right? Like you're probably kicking in that situation, but you just try to stay ready. I mean, I don't think the mindset ever changes. It just becomes, if we're called upon, we're expected to execute, and if it happens, it happens.
There's been a lot of conversation about, just the time to throw this past week, and Jacoby getting the ball out of his hands, and where it all stood. Kind of, how do you analyze the pressure that Jacoby was under on
A couple different ways. Nature of the game, based on the scoring number of possessions left, kind of how we had to play the game to try to get back into it. It's a great front. I think we knew that going into the game. We knew it was going to be a tough matchup. We knew it was going to be a dirty pocket. And to beat that team, you got to make some of those plays, whether it be blocking or making the throw or getting open, or calling the right play at the right time. I think it's all of those things go into evaluating that.
Well, overall, it does seem like the offensive line has regressed from last year. Where have you seen issues pop up, and why do you think that's happening?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I think they're playing hard. I think we've played some really good fronts. I think the communication has been good. I think at times, you're losing one-on-ones in critical situations, which is hurting us. And certainly we need to evaluate how and why that's happening and try to clean that up. But I think those guys play extremely hard. I think they play well together. I think they're doing everything they can to win games.
How do you go about maybe filling the role of Zay now moving forward?
It'll be hard, as it always is when guys go down, but it's next man up. So we got a couple other guys in that room that I know are ready for the opportunity and excited for them to see them step up.
JG was saying how, obviously, kind of going off of that, everybody has to star in their role, but is there a moment where you go up to a guy like Xavier Weaver and you say to him, like, look, you have an opportunity to truly maximize the fact that you are potentially that next man up?
I think you make a quick statement on it. I think most guys know that. And, being in this league, always being ready for your opportunity, not knowing when it's going to come, you have to take advantage of that. I think that's a big part of playing this league. And you've seen time and time again. I mean, Trey McBride did that, the first year we're here in a lot of ways. So it's something that's happened and needs to continue to happen.
There were two 3rd and 1s early in the game. There were the first drive where you had the two pullers and the linebacker was unblocked, and then the two tight ends later on the jet sweep. Were both of those just missed assignments to leave those guys unblocked?
Yeah, little details and kind of angles and having your eyes in the right place and making sure our hands are in the right place. And obviously against a good team in a critical situation, it cost us.
Why do you think that those missed assignments both popped up?
I think it goes back to kind of technique and where our eyes are and some of the movement we're generating in a 3rd and 1 situation, and it's a small margin there. And when you get a piece of them, it's a big one, and when you don't, he makes the play.
You guys outscored them 22-9 after going down 35-0. What went into pulling Jacoby when the offense was rolling? Right, you guys were scoring points, whatnot, and trying to make. It was like 5.5 minutes left. If you still what could happen, why pull him at that point?
Not to punt, but that's probably a better question for JG.
We saw Marv have one of his best days against the Cowboys 2 weeks ago. What did you see to not be able to connect on as many of his 12 targets this week?
I think they got some good players. There were some contested catches. He's made a number of those throughout the course of the season. There were a couple of those where they got their hand on the ball. I think of the one there on 4th and goal is an unbelievable play to get back involved and get a hand on the football. And when you make those, you come out of the game saying you had 7 or 8 for a big game. And I thought those guys competed really well and made some plays on the back end.
That one was obviously. I don't know if I've ever seen a play like that, but there were some other kind of more typical contested catches that he did come in with. Would you like to see him be a little bit stronger at the point of the attack on some of those?
Always something we're going to emphasize.
What stands out with Trey McBride's recent stretch of just finding the end zone?
I think just how consistent he's been. I think it's something you see from him day in and day out in the way he plays the game, the way he practices. I think it's 11 or 12 games now with 5 straight catches. It's not a secret that we're going to try to get him the ball, and he's able to go out there and have an impact on the game. Regardless of situation, 1st, 2nd down, 3rd down, in the red zone. Just plays the game at such a high level, attacks the football, does a great job of separating at the top of the routes, and just plays with great energy. So it's been fun to watch.
We've talked at length about him in the last 3 years, but having him be able to have a full route tree basically and run routes like a receiver, what does that do to this offense? And what kind of option does that give you when he can do so much more than the average type?
Yeah, it's huge. Anytime you have a player of that caliber, it gives you so many options to feature him in different ways. Also use him as a decoy in other ways to get other guys involved in the game. What he does in the run game, it's a huge part of who we are, and will continue to be.
On the second strip sack, what did you see that kind of went wrong up front on that play?
Yeah, talking on the 3rd and 12. Yeah, Amari stepped up. Obviously, they ran a little pick game inside, and I think Amari kind of lost his footing. And sometimes that little difference is the difference between getting the ball out in 3rd down and what ended up happening, which is unfortunate.
Who was yelled at supposed to be walking on that play? Was he sliding to the left on line?
Yes.
With Jacoby now being kind of entrenched indefinitely at the quarterback position, does that give you the ability to kind of really dig in on game planning around his skill set going forward? Does that give you a leg up on that?
I wouldn't say any more than it did. I'd say, and I know we've talked about this, the offense doesn't change dramatically. We emphasize certain things every week. Those conversations happen with every quarterback that's up. So whoever the backup is going into this week, I'm going to know what they like, what they don't like, where I need to go if that guy ends up in the game. So I wouldn't say it changes the process dramatically.
You guys have a long history together and are close. Where do you see that relationship kind of showing itself in the last 3-4 weeks?
I think the communication piece is a big part of it. You know, even though we've been here only so long, there's conversations that we've had in the past, or things that we've been through, or things that we've repped that we can reference to say, hey, you remember that play we put in here? Like, I really like that. I think it fits this week. Oh, okay. Like, let's see if we can organize it. In the people we have, the right formation, the right protection, those type of things. I think it's a lot of those conversations that take place because of the relationship and the past that we're able to have a little bit quicker.
Can you approach a guy that you've known for a long time any differently than a guy that you've been with? You haven't known for that long?
Yes, and I mean, the approach isn't going to be different. The communication is going to be different. What we can pull from is obviously different because we have less experience together. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Mark was talking about how much he appreciated Jacoby's willingness to kind of stand in the face of pressure and make throws. You guys obviously want to concede sacks, but are you guys willing to kind of be willing for more pressure in order to kind of drive the ball downfield like he's been doing?
Absolutely. I think and when you're emphasizing the passing game more, and those go kind of hand in hand, you're gonna that number will uptick a little bit, but if you can uptick the explosive plays and the points, you feel like it's worth it. If that's not the case, then you got to reevaluate how you're doing it and why you're doing it.
Random question, but there's a protection scheme that you guys love on play action where you have either a guard or a tight end or something pulling across. I'm actually curious, what are the benefits of doing that compared to just dropping the 5 linemen back and typical?
It changes the rush lanes for the defense, changes the matchups, allows us to get 4 hands on certain guys. There's a number of different things that we do that for. Protectionally sells the run. We pull a lot of guys in the run game as well, so it marries some of that. It's a combination of a number of those things.
I'm assuming that first part of the game didn't go exactly how you had hoped. Was there anything in particular that they did differently the second time around that maybe they didn't do the first time around?
This is kind of what we looked at as a unit was the first drive. They made some plays, and first off, credit to them. Clint had a great plan, and the players went out there and executed it really well. But that first drive, they made plays, A couple times we got them into a little bit second longer, and, they converted a third down, and then obviously they hit the big play. I thought after that, those next 2 drives, you never want to give up scores on your first 3 drives. There's some things that we could have done better just from a level of focus, alignment assignment, key technique, to, take advantage when we had them behind the sticks or, force them to play some third downs. And it was kind of things that I felt like, we could have been cleaner on, and we kind of, quote unquote, shot ourselves in the foot. So, I think that goes into, okay, how can we correct that? In those moments of adversity, number one is things always feel worse than they are, and things will feel better than they are. So always stay level. And our guys did a good job of that, but how can we maintain a better focus when we do hit that adversity within a game, within a drive? Because if we still would have just, dug our cleats in and hit the plan like we wanted to, we would have been in better shape,
Is a play like Garrett's on the first drive where he seemed to do everything right and then stepped on his foot or had his foot stepped, whatever happened.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of teaching moment there, or is it just like, this is bad luck, you were in the right place?
I mean, you want him to be able to keep his feet, but, there's not too many coaching points I'm going to give him. He knows that we trust, the whole unit trusts him, that he's going to make that play. But, they have a really good player over there that made a great catch. It was a great throw. It was a boot, and he set up quick and popped his hips and ripped it. It was a pretty accurate throw. So, that's a good NFL offense that made a play. I think the biggest coaching point is how do we rebound from that and not let one play become multiple bad plays.
How would you assess your tackling on Sunday?
From a perspective, there's two components of the tackle. Number one is the track. Number two is the tackle itself, the point of attack. There's situations where our track could be better. And, you know, that's always an emphasis playing that team because they have some really good runners that can make some drastic cuts. So we got to do better there. A couple times that we needed to be better at the point of attack in terms of finishing tackles, accelerating our feet through it, whether the tackle was made or missed, but it was made and there was, you know, hidden yardage after the tackle. You know, just some fundamental things that we could do better in really both those areas.
It seemed like both games against this team, you guys struggled to contain the perimeter of the running game. If that's an accurate assessment, well, why do you think that happened against this team both times?
You know, the first game was, you know, some different things, some runs kind of in pass down situations, some calls that weren't necessarily good for that, to be honest. And then some other in the first game as well. I didn't love some of those calls when they were hitting on the perimeter. This past game, it wasn't necessarily those same type of runs. It just, you know, honestly, it comes down to some fundamental things with one or two guys at a time of either not letting the run string out front side and, you know, setting firm edges or inside stretching blocks or setting edges inside. But then also on any kind of cutback, you know, again, it goes back into the tracking the hip and not letting the ball, you know, cross the entire defense. So a little bit different there each game. Again, they got good running backs, and we got to do a better job with those type of guys that can make really good cuts.
What's the toll on a defense when a team is running the ball as much as they are consecutively, or they did consecutively?
You know, I mean, what's the toll? I don't know. We got to be able to generate some, you know, negative yards or non-efficient runs so that we can get them behind the sticks. So we just got to do a better job executing.
I know Rabbi got hurt early in that game, but his defensive snap count has kind of dropped as the weeks have gone on. Is that a personnel thing, or is it more of like you kind of adjusted some scheme stuff, or he doesn't fit in as often as he was before?
Well, you know, I mean, there's been changes with guys being available. You know, Garrett being one, so that can change things, but it can look week to week. You know, obviously his snap count was going to be a lot higher had he not got hurt early. So he's a huge part of what we do, and you know, he's going to continue to be a contributor.
Yeah, go ahead.
How did you think Cody Simon operated, and is there anything in particular he learned or you want him to take away?
He operated good. Not to say it was perfect, but those are big shoes to fill. Mac does an unbelievable job for us. But he had a lot on his plate, and I thought he handled it really well. Some mistakes to clean up, but as expected, you know, it's not easy there. Going 0 to 100, being the green dot in this league, and you know, he probably learned there's a lot more things that I'm talking to him about when he's out on the field. Then he realizes, you know, tell the corner this, tell the outside backer this, you know, like. But it was a great experience for him to be able to get that game, you know, calling it under his belt. And it's going to continue to get better.
The broken play, the 67-yarder to Cup, what happened there?
A lot of bad things, to be honest. Bad things in coverage, you know, from the beginning. There's actually some really good things. We kind of accomplished early in the down what we wanted. The rush wasn't synced up. We didn't do our job there. We didn't do our job in the back end, and then we didn't plaster when it broke down correctly, and then we missed tackles, and a lot of bad things happened on that play.
What's it like for you as a play like that develops? Like, you're watching from the sideline. I don't know if you saw Cup himself get loose, but like you said, like some things happened early that were good. Are you immediately seeing the things that you're not doing right? Is it happening in slow motion for you? Like, oh, no. Like what is kind of like, how are you?
A little bit of everything. Definitely clued into every snap could be different, but there's things I'm looking for on that one. And what I was looking for at the beginning of it was positive. But then when it broke down, you know, there's a lot of communication on the headset too, where things that I wasn't sure what happened, I got answers very quick from the front coaches and then the back end coaches. Not that you need to solve that for the next, you know, first and goal snap. Doesn't need to get solved right there, but you know, the collection of people, you're able to figure out what happened really quick.
What did you think of Walter Nolan in game 2?
Yeah, he's going to continue to get better. He does good things for us in pass rush and the run game. So things to continue to improve on, but, he can help us in every facet of the game.
With Garrett, I know you talk a lot about how intelligent he is, but no matter how intelligent a guy is there a challenge to going from being in the slot one week to then you're starting on the outside to then Rabbit goes down and you're in the slot more often, like to just constantly being moved back and forth? Like, is there a challenge despite how intelligent he is?
Yeah, without a doubt, because in some ways it's even more challenging with how intelligent he is because of his desire and his work ethic to know everything, and being able to filter those out as to, hey, what's the bread and butter for, where you're going to be playing the majority of your snaps, what calls we have, and what they do, right? And so he's going to want to know the one-offs and all of that stuff as well. And so, for him, at times, it's just filtering that information and really honing in on what's super important. But I think just in general, having that position flex, we have a lot of guys that are able to do it, but that doesn't make it easy, and you don't necessarily get every single look as you would if you were just a sole position guy. But he does a really good job handling that, but it isn't easy.
What can getting a couple hands on football like Denzel Burke do for his confidence and just overall play?
I mean, I think as a unit, when you take the ball away, it gives you confidence. I mean, it helps you in games, right? So individually, though, I mean, it's like shooting a basketball and seeing it going through the hoop. It's okay. Hey, this, if I do my technique like this, or if I'm in this spot and I'm doing the right thing and good things can happen, okay, I'm going to continue to do that. So that goes for anybody that finds success, whether that's taking the ball away or finds success performing their job at a high level.
We hear about Kyle Shanahan and his ability to disguise what he's doing offensively really well. Do you have any sort of benefit or leg up since you've already played him at this point, or no?
No.
So what can you take away from the first matchup with that offense?
I mean, yes and no. Like, first matchup, sixth matchup since I've been here, no matter what, it is hard to prepare for. I actually just left the meeting with the coaches kind of going through some things that are difficult. And I said, keep watching it. Let me know what you guys figure out here. Like, make sure it's simple, because it's difficult. Like the way it's the run and the pass game. On how he can game plan it, number one, to get them in an advantage positions, but then two, to dress it up. I think the advantage of playing them before is I don't even know where we would be looking at that for the first time. It would be harder. But no matter what, it's hard every week. I always joke with the coaches, like I like kind of, staying ahead of schedule. As soon as San Fran week hits, you're behind schedule, just because it takes you so long to work through what they do. Credit to them. Like it's really good. It's really good.
McCaffrey hasn't had a ton of rushing yards lately. Do you always consider the run game the identity, the DNA of that offense, or does it change?
I mean, yes and no. Like, yes, because it's one of the best run games over the past decade, in my opinion. But they're also really good in the pass game. So I think you got to be able to stop both against these guys. And the thing that Kyle does really well is he's not a guy that feels like he always has to lean on one or the other. He's going to try to hit you with both. And if, one of them's working, he's not afraid to continue to go to it. So it's with this team, if you allow them to run the ball, they will run the ball. If you allow them to pass the ball, they will pass the ball. And if you're allowing both, they're going to do both, So you got to be able to stop both. It's not like, this is a really good run team. Let's just sell out to stop the run and let the pass game fall. No, like they can do both, and they'll beat you with both if you let them.
You're down 2 linemen this week. What does that do to the rotation?
I mean, that depends as you work through the week to see what it really is and the numbers of how many you have up. And then from there, you can figure out what personnels you want to use. How do you want to rotate? What's the rep count going to be like for each guy? Is there any limitations? Where do you want to use people in situational stuff? So still working through that. But that it plays a huge role in figuring that out of who's available.
Speaking of rep count, have you been pleased with how many snaps Calais is playing a week, and are you aware of kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. Aware of it every week. He helps us win games, so it's a balance. But we want to make sure that he can help us win games throughout the whole year, and we want to make sure he's fresh. That goes for game day and throughout the week of practice too. Being flexible with what he needs to feel good on Sunday, and then the next Sunday and the next one. So something you work through every single week. Debo's doing a good job, though. He's doing a good job.
Beyond the injury, what have you seen from Darius over these past few weeks?
Yeah. I thought he did some really good things in the run game. Knocking it back, disruptive, playing like I mentioned the other day, playing fast and playing violent right now. So he is a huge piece right now to our defense. When he's in there, I feel his presence, and he's in terms of the pass game, he's done a really good job of pushing the pocket to where even if the ball gets out, quarterbacks are feeling him at his feet.
Not that you're going to care what the outside people are talking about, but with Darius, there's a lot of fans that are like, he's not popping, he's not showing up. But internally, obviously, you feel very good about things he does.
Yes. I don't know in regards to if that's statistically or what, but I know he goes out there and helps us win games, and he's a huge part of this defense.
What'd you learn about Mac Jones, week 3?
Yeah, good football player. They got 2 good quarterbacks, so we'll prepare for both. But Mac is extremely intelligent, knows where to go with the ball. So I would say it's similar to Purdy in that regard of both those guys really have a good grip of what they do. And they're attacking coverages. And if you don't give them that coverage, they can get through their progressions fast. So, and then they can put the ball in the right spot. That allows those receivers to catch and run. So both those quarterbacks can function at a very high level. Obviously, Purdy's elite, but Mac is a great player as well, and they can make that offense go. So they both are really good players in my opinion. Yeah.